All right, welcome to the Court of Public Fools. I'm Alex. I'm going to be presiding today and judging retro gaming versus modern gaming. Nick, you're going to be presenting us with your argument why retro gaming is better. Lam, you will be telling us why modern gaming is better. Because I'm the judge, I get to say what goes. So, Nick, you're going to start.
All right. So where do I even begin? Retro gaming takes us all the way back. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start at Atari. I know Commodore 64. I kind of know it. I can't say I know it a lot. I believe we had it at our house, but I'm gonna assume my mom got rid of it before I was born because I don't remember it. Does that sound right, Judge?
We did not have Commodore 64.
Oh, I thought we did. Okay, cool. Well, then I don't feel so
Minus
bad.
5 points.
All right.
Throw it out.
So, all right. Well, Atari. Classic. Love Atari. A little bit basic gaming, I will say that, but it kind of helped start a craze. Like I said, I know Commodore 64 is a thing. My wife had it. I didn't, so I don't really have experience with it. Atari is awesome though, and it still runs. We do have one. We just don't really hook it up all the time, but we have a bunch of games, which is awesome. The big one I'm going to go to, NES, changed gaming forever. Nintendo. No one can argue that. It set up everything. I feel like it set up the foundation for today. You have the most classic games. It I think they're still fun today. I find myself, I have newer games, but I find myself going back to the old ones. My kids, same thing. I just got them into NES recently because we still have a tube TV that I've had stashed away in a closet for many years. Duck Hunt still works, and you need a tube TV for Duck Hunt, in case anybody didn't know that, for the light refraction, for the zapper. Anyway, yeah, Mario Brothers, huge. I feel like those old games, though, don't get me wrong, they definitely did dip, which is how I was able to get a bunch of games pretty cheap. They've managed, though, to, and it's like everything, but I feel like they've held their value pretty well.
Oh,
Like I
they're
said, I know,
they
no,
the market for them is pretty much making them unaffordable at this point for the retro stuff,
I agree.
collector's items. Yeah, so that's not a benefit for a lot of people. I would say it's detrimental to people that actually want to access those older games in a way.
Okay, I agree. I'm going to give you that because that is true. They're worth a lot because they're awesome. It's just like vinyl. Vinyl sounds better than cassettes. That's why nobody wants cassettes and everybody wants vinyl. But another big thing I feel like that I didn't really think too much about until lately, the benefit of this. These cartridges are awesome and they last. So my kids went to play Super Mario Brothers Wii the other day. Well, they dropped it. CD's all scratched up. You drop this, you just blow on it, pop it in and go. Yeah, okay, you got to find the sweet spot on the NES. I get it, but I feel like these things were built to last a lot more than everything new. Okay, that's a big deal. But I also feel like the thing with retro gaming, especially now, is it's fun. So there's a couple of different video game stores we've been to, but not like GameStop, but there's like a retro game store where you can get all the way back. I think they might have Atari up to recent. It's fun to go and see what they have to find the old cartridges. Like, yeah, with the new stuff, Xbox, you're going to go to a store and find it. Switch, you're going to go to a store and find it. You can go on Amazon. But it's fun to find the old games. And to me, it's like record shopping. I think that's awesome. Like, dig through, go to the store, see what they have, because they're not going to have every title. So it's all going to depend on what people decided to bring in. So I feel like that's a lot of fun. The other thing I find, and it might be just me, and Lam, feel free to call me out. I feel like Xbox Live confuses the hell out of me. It drives me
In the
crazy.
beginning, I would say you'd say over the decades it hasn't really streamlined itself out, and or would you say at the precursor it wasn't as intuitive at the time? Because I gotta admit I'm not a Xbox Live.
Hold on. I'd like to speak as the judge of these proceedings. What do you mean Xbox Live confuses you?
I just I went to play a game the other day with the girls, and it didn't make any sense to me. It kept telling me to load an Xbox Live profile to play, and I was like, "What? I just want to play. I just want to put in a game and play."
Oh, so you're saying the need for Xbox Live is confusing on some games.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
I'll
why can't I
allow
just
it.
play?
I
Thank you.
thought you meant it was
Sorry.
confusing to use. I was like, did you pass third grade? Because I know third graders that play it.
That's fair. No, I just why can't I just play a game? It kept forcing me to do an Xbox Live profile. I just wanted to play a game, so we didn't play, and then we ended up putting in. I think we switched to Wii and did uh, Mario Kart. Yeah, I know that's not retro. I know I'm not helping my case, but I'm being honest. So it's okay. Let me see
But
where I
yeah,
was.
I see the Nintendo being like kind of the Apple ecosystem. It's very intuitive and it's geared towards the easier load and play interface. I feel like it's
Taking a shot at Mac users.
I'm not taking a shot at anybody. It's just the reality of Nintendo over the years. I feel like Nintendo more so than any other of the bigger gaming companies gears
Yeah,
itself markets itself to easy gameplay, uh, pick up and play, like online features and stuff like that is just a lot more intuitive. Um,
yeah,
in, and um, yeah, even to this day, like every Mario game they release, it's just kind of like window dressing. They just kind of put it up in a new, nice shiny look, but really, it's just as easy as it was as the first Mario game to play. So that's an asset to modern gaming as it is to the original one. So I think Nintendo just had a good way of kind of keeping it steady through the decades.
yeah. I just want to load a game and go. And I feel like there's something about the simplicity of retro gaming which is awesome. Like the Nintendo, you pop it in and go right away. Well, blow on the cartridge, find the sweet spot. So okay, it can take a few minutes, but sometimes I think I got the sweet spot on ours, so I think we're okay.
Mhm.
Another thing I think is cool about retro gaming, it brings people together because you don't connect through Xbox Live or online gaming. You got to be there in person. I think that's cool. There's something I don't know. I don't do online gaming. That's not my thing. So playing with people who aren't right next to me just doesn't sound like my cup of tea. And then, like I said, I always find myself coming back. But huge thing about retro gaming, no tutorials. Those are the worst in all these new games. You sit there for how long? 30 minutes going through a tutorial? Whereas the old games, don't be stupid. Here, play the game. You'll figure it out. And that's exactly how that works. And I think there's something to be said about that.
You can dive right in. You can dive in the deep end with these modern games too. Just turn off the tutorials, and if you're ready to just jump in and immerse yourself, it's
But you have to turn them off. I don't even want to do that. Don't even bother me with that. Just let me play my game. Just let me play my game. Don't give me something to do. Just let me play. So, too much going on. And then here's my biggest thing. If modern is better, why are they always bringing back retro games? Mario's gone nowhere because he's a classic. Yeah, okay. Super Mario Brothers.
you got
They're
you
always
got to hit
bringing
every
that
you got
back.
to hit every demographic though. I mean, you can't leave out the nostalgia factor for people that pine for the retro games, of course, but it's a smaller market. It's a much smaller market than people that want the immersive, um, more modern stuff that they can kind of just immerse themselves in, as opposed to the antiquated, simple gameplay of yesteryears. There's a market for it, but it's much smaller than the current state of gaming with all these kids coming up and playing and wanting something more complex, more dynamic. They're they're just more ready for that stuff.
Here's a
So,
question.
Nick,
Here's a question. Okay.
I,
I have a question.
I'm the judge.
Yeah.
You will listen to what I say.
All right.
No, you can ask your question.
Okay, you're gonna hold me in contempt. Okay. Okay. Is the Wii cool? I mean, because Xbox Connect kind of went away, so I'm trying to think of the next. I'm going somewhere with this. The Wii technology is cool with the remotes.
Agreed.
Xbox
It is cool.
wireless controllers. Okay, great. There's no wires.
Mhm.
I still think the NES Zapper is awesome. That technology is so cool to me that it
And the,
bounces the light off the tube.
I was going
I
to say the
still think
light
that's
gun
cool.
technology, right? Yeah.
I still think that's cool. That one we sit there playing and I'm like something so simple, but it at the same time I think it's pretty cool considering it was 1985 when that launched. That to me, I still think that's cooler than anything I've seen with modern gaming.
That's purely
Personally,
subjective, though, because innovation doesn't, as far as gaming goes, innovation just, it's constantly moving towards, more immersive type scenarios, like where you're in the game, you can actually shoot the ducks live, like actually go out, feel like you're a hunter of some kind, as opposed to aiming at a tube TV with light gun technology. It's
So
this is Pennsylvania. If I want to shoot ducks, I'm gonna go hunt and shoot ducks.
to be fair, when the trigger technically, and if only you worked in like the technology aspect of the world, what actually happens is the entire screen goes black except for where the pointer is pointing for that very microsecond. But I understand what you're saying. So I have a question for you, Nick, unless you have other things to add.
Well, the screen goes black, but
yeah,
it's the light that it gets, which you don't get on an LCD or an LED.
I agree. And I'm just saying that, but that's the full technology. Okay.
I'm sorry, everyone, that I'm not as well versed. I thought all these years I knew what I was talking about.
So I have a question for you, unless you want to add to your argument.
No, so I think I'm okay. I mean, I'm going to pretty much, I'm going to say.
Where do you draw the line of retro gaming?
It probably ends with. I couldn't decide if it ended with N64 or GameCube.
mm-hmm.
I would definitely say modern gaming 100% starts with Xbox. I feel like Xbox.
That's where I had to pivot to. That's where I had to pivot was the race between PS2, GameCube, and Xbox was within 2 years of each other. It was like 2000, 2001, 2002.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And don't get and I guess I should have argued for the PlayStation because the PlayStation was a big deal too. It was good. Crash Bandicoot was solid. I think I had Dukes of Hazzard, which was a fun game on PlayStation. But I feel like the Nintendo era just stuck with me more. Oh God, what am I talking about? GoldenEye 64. Thanks, I win. I mean, that game was amazing. I stopped at Nintendo. I didn't even talk about Nintendo 64. 3D gaming. Super Nintendo was awesome. Mario Kart. Love it. Super Nintendo, I played a lot. And there were definitely games that stuck with me. F-Zero was a good one. But Mario Kart stands out to me with Super Nintendo. But I feel like Super Nintendo is one that, aside from Mario Kart, I'm okay skipping. I think it was a really good system, but I don't find myself wanting to I got to go out and find it. N64 though, I mean, Mario Kart 64 was awesome. I think Super Mario World, right? Came with
on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, but then there was a 64 version, which was crazy.
I think it was Mario 64. I think is what it was called.
Yeah. So the 3D on that
Uh,
was amazing. But yeah, I would say I draw the line. Yeah, I would draw the line at N64, right? I would say GameCube is modern. That's what you're thinking.
well,
I didn't have much experience with GameCube, so you can take it or leave it with that one.
yeah, I want to clarify. It was Super Mario 64 was the Nintendo
Super
64.
Mario 64. Thank you. That
Yeah.
was awesome.
Um,
Um, oh, okay. Jeez, thank you. I wrote this stuff down in my notebook and I missed it. Sega, Sega Genesis, fantastic system, fantastic console. Sonic, it brought Sonic to our lives. Sonic is still awesome today. Here's one that's huge, and I actually hadn't thought about this till just now. Do you remember Sega Channel? A
Nope.
friend of mine had that. It was you subscribed, and I think it was through the internet, but it came into your TV. This was in the 90s, and you had all of the Sega games through your TV. I'm gonna guess it was so expensive that it failed. That's the only thing I can think. But I remember he had Sega Channel, and it was crazy, and I was like, "What is this? This is awesome!" And that paved the way for well, I don't even know today. I mean, I guess you got Xbox Game Pass, and then what Switch Online. So
Yeah.
you could argue that's almost like an early version of that, which is pretty cool.
It was very early because I've never heard of it.
Yeah, and nobody has. People definitely make me wonder if I dreamt it. Like I swear it happened, but no one ever knows what I'm talking about.
I'll
But
research this afterwards.
yeah,
at age
so
like 6, you dreamt that. Yes, that's correct.
nine,
Was it
nine.
that long ago? I mean,
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Yeah. I remember. And Sega Channel was cool. Sega Genesis was a solid system. Only argument I have about that is I never knew how to hold the controller. It was such a
The
weird
Sega
controller.
Genesis.
Yeah, remember it had that weird
Oh,
hook on the
it's like
bottom?
yeah, it was kind of contoured, like
It was
it's
like a
like a
boomerang
It was
almost.
like upside down horn or something. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So I feel like I never knew how to hold that. Lisa
the
had it; she
the
liked it. But
N64 controller was like the spikes, like the three
Yeah, it was
prong.
like
oh
a
yeah,
try.
you hold it in the middle.
It was a trident of video game.
Yes, and yeah, that's another one too. I mean, N64 was so. Uh, I feel like that was a huge step. But
I'm not.
N64 is great because GoldenEye 64 is awesome. And I'm not gonna lie, I have GoldenEye 64 on my Xbox One because I
I'm
got it
not
on
gonna
sale.
lie. There was a meme going around not too long ago, and if I had known that um, ordering pizza, getting a case, and playing GoldenEye on a Friday night was going to be the best time of my life, I would have savored it a little bit more.
GoldenEye 64 is awesome. But yeah, the port to Xbox One is really good, I gotta say. Um, but yeah, so that's another one. I mean, that's a game came out in the 90s, but how many years later people still say, I mean, it's fun. Like not even that like, oh, it was revolutionary for the time. It was, but like even today, it's still a lot of fun. And I don't know, I feel like those old games like I get it with the nostalgia effect, but I feel like there's something special about those old games playing them now. Just something feels right about that. It's almost like with movies. I was just talking about that with somebody I work with today, and how I feel like new movies are not rewatchable like old movies are. I don't know.
Yeah, there's merit to that. I can agree on that.
So I feel like that's how I feel with gaming. So with that,
But well,
yeah.
before you uh, transition here, just the nostalgia point. Can't you say kids these days that grow up on certain modern games will say the same thing 20 years from now? Be like, oh, I remember when Diablo 4 came out. That just hit me right in the nostalgia spot here. I just want to fire it up. They'll be able to fire it up in about like 5 seconds, right? And then they'll be able to play it. So, I mean, isn't just kind of a cycle thing where games that we played, we're like, oh, this is great to play, pick up and play because it's just nostalgic to me. Like the same kids growing up in gaming might have the same same type of feeling, same thought process when they're at a certain point too. And like
I,
games are just at a level where just we can't even fathom it gaming at this point. So
I totally see where you're coming from with that, but I don't know if they have that same, I don't want to say longevity, but like so many of those old games are iconic.
mhm.
Sorry, it's blurring.
This is.
Damn it! Stop blur.
Did
There
you
we go.
put this into evidence before we started? Because
So I
you're
probably
pulling these
should
out for
have.
the first time. I'm just seeing the evidence for the first time for a lot of this stuff.
Sorry, I should have showed you this beforehand, but I wanted it to be a surprise because this WrestleMania. Are you a real American? Come on.
Nice.
Oh, what happened? Did my phone die?
Uh-oh.
Well, no, you froze.
We may have lost Nick.
Hmm.
Well, while we see if we can find Nick, I think that kind of does that end your argument, Nick? Or are you still?
I'm back, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
I think that kind of wraps up Nick's argument. So
It
Lam,
does. I just have one quick thing to add while I'm waiting for Lam. This is what I'm going to do while Lam argues.
I love the color too. Very
This
retro
is an
color.
this is an Alex and Dimitri birthday gift from many, many years ago.
Sweet. Still in use today.
Hell
for
yeah.
those who don't know, Nick and I are brothers, and Dimitri is our other brother. Lam and I, however, are not brothers. In case you didn't
From
realize
another
that.
mother. Brothers from another mother.
That's right.
And for anyone wondering at home, this is the game.
Donkey Kong?
Yep, Donkey Kong Country.
Nice. All right.
Okay, I rest my case. Thank you for
So,
listening.
Lam, you with the modern gaming.
I didn't put this into evidence, but I assume everyone has one, so I'm just going to put this up there too. So
Okay.
the equivalent
A
of
smartphone?
a smartphone, more powerful than a computer 10 years ago that can run any type of game on it. You know, all types of games. But yeah, that's just one facet of modern gaming is the mobile gaming platforms that you can just pick up and play anytime. And yeah, I mean, I'll start where we pivoted with the N64. Modern gaming for me started with that race of the first gen Xbox, PS2, and the GameCube, and really everything came into the modern era with the internet, right? So the network capabilities on those consoles um, really pushed things forward and made stuff like LAN parties, like PC parties, the things of the past, like just being able to invite your friends. Like the argument was made, like you wouldn't be next to your buddy playing a game, but in reality, you could just invite them um, over a hosted network, and then you'd be able to play Halo, any number of co-op games, Super Smash Brothers, to name a few. Like some of those initial network games were phenomenal to play. Madden, once like the esports, the sports games got into it, like that was it. Like you could just play with your buddy at any time and talk trash, like they were just in this same room with you. So um,
But they weren't.
they weren't. Yeah, you're missing that key element. So, but you can avoid
Sorry.
the potential physical harm that you might enact on them for pulling a
Yeah.
maneuver that
See,
you don't
you
like.
can't
Right?
punch the guy in the junk next to you. Okay.
Exactly.
I get it.
You're playing WWF. You can't elbow drop from the top rope. Anything like that.
True.
So there's that side of it. Like things get too heated, you can just talk trash and be done with it. And um, but yeah, like the advent of network gaming and the internet just um, advancing and speeding up so quickly really pushed things in the modern era. And I think there was no looking back at that point. It's almost like with AI these days. It's just you open the Pandora's box and it's just going to keep progressing. And that really paved the way for just I don't know. It's just limitless, like with virtual reality, augmented reality, with games being put out these days. You're looking at graphics that surpass, Hollywood movies and stuff that people put years into and really try to put the best product out there for people. And the options are limitless of what type of games you can play at this point. So I'll give props to a lot of the retro platforms. Like probably N64 was probably the one that paved the way to the modern gaming era with the GoldenEye. I think GoldenEye actually had network capabilities, but it was real. I remember playing it. It was so stuttery, and like every time you thought you would kill a guy, you completely missed. You're like, "Oh, it's my point blank right behind you." And,
True.
like, but just I remember respawning constantly. But it just really didn't work things out until the race of the big three, and they started putting games out consistently, like Final Fantasy. You had I'll just go with PlayStation Final Fantasy, and all the sports games. A lot of games you couldn't get in the States. They would import from Japan, import from other countries. So,
Okay.
And then Xbox, obviously, Halo was just the biggest thing. Like everyone played Halo, like constantly. And then obviously Nintendo just never really forgets its past. So it's just with Super Smash Brothers, it really really took off.
Can you tell me a modern game system where you could put in a cheat code, get 30 lives, and player two spends all 30 lives and can then start stealing those lives from player one in a game called Contra? Can you tell me a modern
I'm
game system that could
I'm
do that?
docking you for doing that to me all the time when we were a kid.
Oh, that backfired.
Right?
But
Ugh.
no, obviously no, because the developers were like, forget that jazz. We don't need that kind of. We want to simplify things, but also give the option to make a game as easy as a player wants to play it, or as difficult as they want to play it. So you put something in easy mode, maybe you'll have 15 lives, or you put in a harder mode, you get 1 life to run through the whole campaign or something like that. So those kind of quirks and bugs, yeah, they're cute at the time, but they're just like, hey, let's simplify things. Let's let the players pick their difficulty, and you can just run with it at that point.
Okay.
You know, the biggest thing, one of the biggest platform gaming for modern games is the open world, right? The sandbox.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the sandbox games that got introduced, GTA, pretty much the biggest one that I can think of in the last 20, 30 years that, in the worst way possible, like allowed players to fulfill their whims.
GTA is awesome. I
It
was
is awesome.
addicted to that game.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear, we don't condone sex, drugs, and violence like they do in GTA. This podcast is not for those things. Just had to put that claimer out there.
That's fair. I would
Understood.
hope it goes without saying, but
Yeah. But yeah, like once the sandbox worlds were pretty much put out there, I mean, it was pretty much you could do anything you wanted at any time, and that was something that was restrictive in retro gaming, right? Retro gaming had what we call, if something was on the rails, like you would never be able to go off the beaten path, right? Everything was structured in a way where you had to take, like, for example, like a Metroid or a Castlevania, it was a linear path. Like you had to get this to be able to get here to this stage. to get to this side of the room to
True.
open this, right? So when you had the open world stuff come in, it was really something I wasn't seen before, and just really allowed people's imagination to kind of run wild. And I mean that's a lot of gaming is like, yeah, like you said, with the older stuff is the fun component, and I think open world had that fun dynamic baked into it because you could really drive a car off a cliff, flip it 20 times, and then get out and run away from the police with a 4-star rating and jump in a helicopter and do all kinds of stuff. Um, and
Okay.
yeah, so I think that's cool. And it just didn't, like, one of my favorite games of the past decade was the Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which actually took place in ancient Greece. So that was open world sandbox scenario, but you know, there was that also component of learning to it, like being able to go back to that era and just seeing um, the geography of everything. Like it showcased um, a lot of cities, ancient cities, ruins, and stuff like that. You went to
Okay.
Knossos with the Minotaur, like stuff like that. It was just there's an education piece to a lot of the modern gaming that wasn't really harped upon with the old school, retro gaming. So,
Do you
um,
remember Night Trap?
oh, was that the video? Was that a
It was
Sega
like
Channel?
live action video game.
Yeah, yeah. It was controversial.
Very controversial.
Right.
So you want to
Yeah.
talk about strides.
We've come a long way. That was
Yeah. So I feel like that needed to be said. I didn't even think about Night Trap, but
yeah.
then I'm like, okay. I didn't even think about that as an argument, but I feel like that was it was very controversial, but a major stepping stone.
But what did it really
Remind me of
transition
night.
to?
Remind me about Night Trap again.
So Night Trap I think it was kind of like, I never played it because we didn't have it, but I believe it was kind of like choose your own adventure, but it was real people filmed. So it was almost like they filmed a movie, and then
Oh
you pick
yeah,
what
yeah, yeah.
happens.
Yeah,
There was that, and then I
It
remember
was really bad.
Sega CD.
I
That was
I remember an arcade
Yeah.
game, and it was like a cartoon, but it looked like a TV cartoon. It was like a
Dragon's
dragon
Lair.
game.
Dragon's
Is that
Lair.
Dragon's Lair? Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that too
That's a
retro. That was
classic.
pretty cool. So
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. No, I mean, there's there's a lot to be said with modern gaming now. It's just, I mean, I feel like a lot of the population, if they're into console gaming, PC gaming, or mobile gaming, it's kind of taken over a lot of the everyday stuff going on. I can't say it's all been positive. It's just that's the way it's been with gaming because it has its own streaming service with Twitch. People dedicate supercomputers to building these chess AIs to beat the grandmasters. So like people commit resources just to build computers to play chess,
Yeah.
right? Um, so just the importance and resources that people put into gaming these days is just unprecedented. I feel like to years past, and because I mean, you call it gaming, but really it just can do so many different things now with like MetaQuest with the virtual reality and stuff like that. Like it could just put you in any place, anytime, anywhere, and stuff like that. You use it for education purposes. You can use it for escapism, anything like that sort. So really, you know, it hasn't really hit its ceiling by any means, and it's just going to keep advancing. And good or bad, I would say modern gaming really is just you can't really compare the two. It's just its own thing right now.
It it is. They are very different. I agree.
Yeah.
To me, it's just, yeah, there's something beautiful in the simplicity. Here's a question I have. I actually should have asked you this during the mobile thing. So, your phone has all kinds of apps on it, right? You can have tons of games, right? So you could have theoretically like 30 games on your phone, 40 games on your phone. Yeah, depending on the size. But you get where I'm going. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
But when you're a kid, or you could be an adult too, and you want to bring your Game Boy somewhere, you're like, okay, we're going on a trip. You can only bring so many games, and you have to pick like 3 games, maybe 4, and you really had to pick. Isn't there something more special about that? Like, it's less special to be able to do whatever you want. It's like when Netflix went to streaming and had everything, and then Netflix got boring because it's like, oh, I can get everything. This sucks. But when I had to pick something I really wanted, I feel like it made it more special.
Yeah.
So are you telling me you're going to like a farm to get your food instead of going to like a supermarket? Because like there's too many choices at the supermarket. I need to go to a small little market. I mean, your
Who doesn't
argument is
like small
based.
markets? Who doesn't like small markets? We have a farm. We want to get milk.
Or let me rephrase. All right, I'm not downplaying small markets. What I'm saying is you actually have to go to your farm and be like, well, I only have 3 vegetables planting on. Like, do you want to go move back to Greece and live in the village there and like plant your own vegetables? And those are the only things you can get. That's it.
It's
Like,
pure preference, though. It is simplicity versus
Yeah.
I
having
get,
those
but
choices.
you're saying an advantage is you can only take 3 games with you. That doesn't sound like an advantage to me. You're
No, no.
overselling that.
See, you're talking about advantages of retro versus modern. I'm talking about which is more special.
Ah, okay.
So to me, just from it's more special when you're like you really have to put thought in. Like I really love these 3 games, so I'm gonna bring these with me. Versus your phone, you're like, do I want to do that? Do I want to do that? And then before you know it, you just went through 40 minutes, didn't do anything, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, I can give you
so
that.
that's how I feel about retro gaming versus modern.
But you
So
know what?
hmm,
As we said that, I downloaded my 3 favorite Sega Genesis games the other day. So those are my 3 favorites I can carry with me anywhere and
you
delete
son
at
of a
any
bitch.
time. Reload at any point. So with that. But I just wanted to tell you that. Yes, I do appreciate, I value the ones that I'm nostalgic about that I can pull up at any point and carry with me. And I did exactly that. Not while you were talking. I did that prior to our case here. So, um, yeah,
I feel like that would have really driven it home if you had done it in the last 30 seconds while I gave my point.
but
Nick, while you were talking, I just downloaded the entire Nintendo catalog on my phone.
Yeah, right. But
it doesn't touch. Yes, the special aspect of it is not there when you're
yeah,
downloading.
but that's how I feel. I feel like you just had to put more effort, more I don't want to say more heart into it, but you know what I mean. You had to care more. Whereas now it's just like, can I play this game? Okay, just download it and then you can play it. It's, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. And that's kind of where I am with it. It's not so much an advantage of like I get the advantage of new technology. To me, it's just yeah, there's something special and about old gaming. So
yeah.
that's all I got.
All right. Yeah. I guess I rest my case at this point. But if the judge, I'd close
All
my
right.
argument.
So I just want to real quick closing arguments like we did last time. Each of you give me your top 3 that you are like, this is the reason why my retro or modern gaming is the best. Okay. So Nick, we'll start with you.
So just kind of going to reiterate the last thing I said. To me, it's something about retro gaming that is just special with the Nintendo and the Sega. I haven't touched in a while, but I've played some of the old games like Sonic. I have. Granted, it's on an Xbox One, but those old games are just they're still fun. The simplicity of turn it on, pop the game in, turn it on, and go. I mean, you could be up and running in 5 seconds. Whereas now, if you turn off the console, you got to turn it on, you got to wait for it to load, it's got to do its thing, it's got to sign you into the account. And I feel like before you know it, sometimes you're like, "Ugh, I'm done." Like if you have a short attention span, you don't even want to get through the boot up time. I mean, my 5 and 7 year old, they don't. By the time Xbox boots up, they're like on to the next thing. But with Duck Hunt, they've been all in. And my last thing, so third thing, you know what? I might not have a third thing because I feel like those two, I feel like they just sum it up for me. If anything, my third thing is going to be some of those games, just like I said, stood the test of time. I mean, you go online, people still talk about GoldenEye 64 and how awesome it was. I mean, they talk about Mario 2 on N64 and everything, but people still talk about GoldenEye, saying it's arguably the greatest first-person shooter of all time, and it is a fun game. I mean, you play it now, it's still fun, and probably the best music of a video game. One of the best, if not the best, one of the best. I
Nick
rest.
isn't a fan of James Bond movies at all.
Nope, can't stand them.
All right, Lam, same thing. Your top three cases to what modern gaming is better.
Yeah, so I guess if you can get past modern inconveniences with load times and stuff like that, and Xbox Live um, profiles, then you can see that modern gaming really is just depth and breadth wise, and how far it's come is just um, the possibilities are endless, really, of how great modern gaming can be. Um, so you have the network connection, I think, was the biggest thing, like being able to invite your friends, play with random strangers and talk trash without, you know, the downfall pitfalls of potentially getting the fisticuffs with your family members or something like that. But just being able to play online became such a seamless process. I think that really um, gives an advantage for modern gaming there. Second thing would be the type of games that you can play are just kind of not limitless, but there's a lot of options now with open world sandbox, which kind of gives you the the fun component, the thrills of um, kind of acting out on situations that you wouldn't normally do in common society. So you have stuff like that, and then you have virtual reality now, which can put you in any place, anytime, any part of history, and kind of just take you to that moment and allows that full immersion. So, I mean, those kind of games are just um, you can't really compare them to retro gaming. Obviously, it's complex. It's just really a lot going on there. Um, and then I guess the third thing, the third advantage to close out my arguments would be um, modern gaming is just on the public consciousness 24/7, whether that's a negative thing or positive, is just constantly on the collective mind. Really, like with your phone is the ultimate gaming device. Everyone has it in their hand, on them 24/7. It's available to pick up and play anytime. If you're talking about portability, ease to play a game, you pick it up, you get a game, and then you play it. Streaming channels, you have all kinds of stuff like programmers, devoting resources to just building games and like supercomputers and stuff like that. It's just modern gaming is just kind of encompassed the whole um, public consciousness, and it's really not capping out at any point. So kind of scary, but I mean that's kind of where it's progressing to, and I think that's why modern gaming is better than the retro.
All right. So before I give my ruling, I want to touch on some things that I feel like maybe you guys missed, or maybe we didn't talk enough about.
Hmm.
Um, First, on the retro side, Nick, you completely ignored arcades, like going to the arcade, like popping a quarter into a video game. Like you were talking about, like that certain nostalgic feel. I mean, I remember as a kid going to Wildwood, New Jersey, and just mom giving me a roll of quarters and just being like, have fun. And I mean, we had a blast.
Well,
So
yeah. Can I interrupt, Judge?
you can.
Well, the argument was retro gaming today.
It was just
Yeah, you have
retro
memories
gaming.
of 1986, but I'm talking
Um,
today.
if
You can't.
if I remember correctly, the party that commenced before you got married, we did do a retro arcade gaming system, or a retro arcade establishment in New York City. Perhaps your
You remember the
conscious
name?
state was slightly altered as a result.
Like, I do remember pushing a bunch of buttons rapidly.
So,
I remember
no,
the birthday party.
I'm talking about in New York when me, you.
No, I know, I know, I know, I know. I can't. Huh. Okay. I believe you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, and
It's kind of scary.
Dimitri's birthday party was kind of fun too. Um,
Yeah.
Kids, don't drink and forget things. Always be aware of your surroundings. Um, I did write the no Contra code thing, but then you brought it back, so you saved yourself there. Because Contra, that up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start. When somebody first told me about that, and the first time I put it in Contra, my world had changed. And the thing that you forgot to mention that made retro gaming amazing, especially with the Nintendo Power.
Oh, the magazines.
Oh my God. Getting
I
that
never got the
magazine
magazines.
to tell you how to do something that you've been trying so hard to get past a certain level, and you just couldn't figure it out, and then you open the Nintendo Power to help you out
Because
with that. That
didn't it
was
map out? It mapped out the levels, right? Like
some of them were
across.
mapped out levels, some of them would give you like little things that you might have missed along the way. So definitely that.
That's
Lom,
fair.
things that you missed out with modern gaming. Um, you kind of just Nick kind of talked about it with the Wii, but you just didn't even talk about how some video game systems now you don't even need a controller. Like you are essentially the controller. I know you talked about it with AI, but like with the
A little bit
Wii,
of
that
virtual
was the
reality.
first
I
game
mentioned the
where you.
MetaQuest. I said the
Yeah,
MetaQuest
okay.
and virtual reality bit, but yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
go into detail about it.
yeah.
But,
So and then he brought up Nintendo 64, and I thought the perfect counterpoint it was Halo, because I'm just saying, Nick, when I come home to visit, I'm pretty sure you're like, hey, you want to crack up some Halo? You're not like, let's crack up some GoldenEye. So, I think you missed an opportunity there. I do like your points though, guys. Like there is definitely the case that I do remember Nintendo 64 was like one of the most amazing things, especially playing, like you said, GoldenEye and some of these other games. They were fantastic when they first came out.
I
Lob,
remember. I remember the arcade. Starting to come back
that
to me. Thanks.
no problem. Um, with the modern gaming, I think a key to modern gaming that I feel like was missing with the retro. Yes, there was Nintendo. Yes, there was Sega, but I felt like they were never really head to head against each other. Like Nintendo came out, and then a few years later, Genesis came out. Yes, there was an original Sega, but I don't really remember playing original Sega. So really, it was Nintendo and Genesis. That was the first battle. But they didn't come out around the same time. So, and then, Nintendo's like, we're going to come out with Super. And then it just kind of went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth like that. I think the big three that still exist today, and those of you who don't know what we're talking about Microsoft's Xbox, we're talking about Sony's PlayStation, and we're talking about Nintendo, whatever platform they're on now. They're on the Switch now, but who knows what it's going to be the next reboot of their devices. Those three really, really, truly did push the limits, and they pushed themselves to be better. It's almost like, Ali can't be great without Frazier. It's like that kind of argument. You can't take your game to the next level without being pushed. Like Michael Jordan in his saying, he said that the Pistons is what drove him crazy to get to be better. Without the Detroit Pistons beating the crap out of Michael Jordan in the late 80s, we might not have these killer Chicago Bulls teams. So I think those three really pushed themselves to push where video gaming is now. I do enjoy the simplicity of just popping in a Nintendo game. And I'm not going to lie. Do you remember the old Nintendo we had, Nick, growing up? Do you remember we had to put a game on top of the game that we installed?
I just did that the other day, and it worked.
That was the
Paperboy.
ultimate sweet spot. You had to use the weight of another game in that slot to make it hit perfectly. So there was that certain feel to it.
Small victory. That's what it felt like. It actually felt like a big victory.
But if I had to pick, and it sort of pains me to say this because I came in with a different mindset. But then when Lam was talking about it, I remembered the first time I played Madden on the original Xbox. Mm-hmm. And I remember walking into the room at my buddy Mel's house and walking in and be like, dude, there's a football game on today? I actually thought I was watching a telecast of a football game. And now to this day, I've been playing video games. My son has an Xbox, and he also has a Nintendo Switch. And I remember the one day playing a game, and my wife goes, "What game are you watching?" I'm like, "I'm playing." And I think the simple fact that when you play these games, like Lam mentioned with the sandbox games or whatever, you are in that world. You can honestly think you are playing in that world. Like when you were saying playing Assassin's Creed, like going to ancient Greece, you thought you were in ancient Greece. Those games completely transposed you into that world. You feel like when you're playing the EA Sports games, you feel like you're the quarterback of the Eagles, or you are the centerman of the Philadelphia Flyers, or you're Lionel Messi trying to win the World Cup. You feel like you're those players because of how real the graphics are. So
you never felt like you hired an Italian plumber to save a princess who ended up always being a toad?
So as much as it pains me to say, because I do love whipping out my RetroPie and playing that, I rule in favor of modern gaming.
Congratulations. Lam, can you do a favor for our viewers? Can you stand up so they can see your shirt? Yes. You see this? Just so you know.
I tried to ignore it.
Well done. Congratulations.
So,
thank you.
No, this was great, guys. I really thought it was awesome. So thanks for tuning in. When we get it up live and you guys watch it, let us know how we did. Let us know whose argument you liked better, and we'd love to hear your comments. Thanks for tuning in. Next week, or next couple weeks, we'll have to come up with an episode 3 idea. I think I might have an idea. So talk to you guys later.
Bye all.